So we talked about essential qualities for each planet, and I feel that's a lot more important to learn than a whole list of facts. When I was trying to learn the basic meaning of all these symbols, astrological symbols, I was always really frustrated by a whole bunch of facts about everything. And I would have to spend a lot of time just trying to digest all these facts and see what the common thread through all of them is. So the way I'm going to present it here in this video is I'm going to give you that common thread. I'm going to give you that one essential thing about each planet that ties together all those seemingly disconnected sets of facts about each planet. So the sun is in the center of everything. And just from that one fact, everything else about the sun will be known. For example, we always hear that the sun is the ego. Why the ego? Because the ego is your identity. The identity is what's at the core of you. The center of you is your identity or your ego. So that's why the sun represents the ego or your identity. The sun represents the king or the authority figures. Why? Because the kings and the authority figures are the people at the center of everything, upon whom everything else depends and revolves around. So all these authority figures, they all are represented by the sun. We hear that the sun is the father, because the father is sort of classically the center of the family. The whole family depends upon him. The sun is also said to be the health. Why the health? Because health is the center of your prosperity. Without health, there's no prosperity. And also the sun is in the heart and the center of the physical body. Or medically speaking, the sun is said to be the bones, the center of your bodily structure, the most inner part. So all these things come from simply the sun being the center. If you just remember that the sun is the center of all things, then you'll always have a good grip on what the symbolism of the sun means in astrology. Now let's discuss the moon. The main quality of the moon is that she is reflective. In other words, she reflects the light of the sun into the darkness of the night. She takes the consciousness and reflects it on matter. So what happens is the sun reflects the consciousness off of the mind, and so we can perceive things in this world. What happens when we perceive things in this world? Desires are born. We desire to get some of those things that we see. We desire to avoid some of the other things that we see. What happens as a result of those desires? We get emotions. The things we see which we want, which we have desires for, we develop loving emotions towards. The things we see which we don't want, we don't have desires for, we develop aversion, hatred emotions towards. And then the third reaction, as a result of the emotions, we develop opinions. And so all three of these opinions, emotions, and desires are all in the domain of manas, or mind, which is all connected to the moon. The mother. The moon is always known as the mother. The sun is the father. The sun is the ideological center for the child, and the mother is the emotional center for the child. Just like the moon reflects the potency of the sun into this world, the mother reflects the potency of the father to create a child. So, in biological terms, the father's semen is taken by the mother and reflected into the world as a child. Therefore, the moon becomes representative in the mother. Now we have Mercury. Let's talk about Mercury. We talked about the essential quality of Mercury is being a bridge. Also, it's fitting to talk about Mercury while we're in a playground, because Mercury is always connected with the youth. Now, let's get to that, about why Mercury is connected with the youth, but let's start with some more basic things. Mercury is a bridge between the inner soul and the outer body. Mercury is that intellectual thing which connects the body and mind. So Mercury is said to be the intellect. That's why you hear that Mercury is the intellect, because the intelligence is a bridge between the mind and the body. So that's one thing. Mercury is said to be the power of communication or speech, because the power of communication is the way you take the ideas that are inside your head and you express them to another person. You make a bridge from your mind to another person's mind by words, by communicating. That's what communicating is. That's why Mercury is the planet of communication and languages and speech, because languages and communication is a way of bridging yourself to another person. Mercury is also the planet of mercantilism, Mercury, the planet of business and exchange, because mercantilism is the exchange of money and goods and services between people. Mercury is always connected with students, because students and kids are bridging from being ignorant and not knowing anything to growing up and becoming capable adults who know things. And that's why Mercury is always the student or the learner or the kid who's growing up. And that's why you'll find Mercury in playgrounds and being always playful and witty. These combinations become interesting because if Mercury is good with languages, right, and he's also a kid and playful, then he's very good with jokes, and he's very witty, and he's good with making puns. So when you combine some of the things about planets, you get to even deeper levels of what they mean. Venus is the planet of senses. That's the singular thing about Venus. She's the senses. What are a few of the things that you've heard about Venus? Mostly everybody thinks of romance, because romance is the wonderful thing that you do with your senses. Love, peace, harmony, all those things are about Venus. Why peace and harmony and love? Because you can't enjoy the senses when people are fighting. You can't enjoy the senses when you're getting a knife shoved into them, or you're getting a bomb blown up on them, or you're having an argument with somebody. Real happiness from the senses only comes when there's an environment of love, peace, harmony, beauty. This is another thing of Venus, beauty, flowers. Another thing of Venus is art. Venus makes all of our expressions artistic so that they could be more enjoyable and pleasant to the senses. Another thing about Venus which might surprise you if you're not familiar with Vedic astrology as your background is that Venus is actually connected to semen and to reproductive power, virility. So you may think that's weird. Maybe Western people might think it should be Mars. But because Venus actually creates the body, remember the sun was the consciousness, the moon was the mind reflecting the consciousness, Mercury is the bridge from the consciousness to the body, and then Venus is actually the body, which is made of the senses. And what is semen, or reproduction, it's just a process of creating a new body. And so therefore Venus also represents the process of reproduction, the sexual act, and the semen itself, the eggs themselves. There's all the domain of Venus. So fertility is in the domain of Venus as well. And now we could talk about Mars. Mars is energy. Energy gives us ambition. If our ambitions are fulfilled, we're happy. But if our ambitions are frustrated, we become angry. And if we become angry enough, we become violent. And we attempt to fulfill our ambitions by any means necessary, even by violence and war. And this is why Mars is known as the planet of war, even though really he's the planet of energy. And so things associated with war are associated with Mars. Armies, soldiers, weapons. Also things which are sort of like play wars, like sports, competitions. The spirit of competitiveness all belongs to Mars. Mars gives us some very good things as well. Mars gives us the desire to wake up and live. Mars gives us the desire to have a goal and pursue it. He gives us the enthusiasm for life. He gives us a healthy lust, a healthy zeal for life.